It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shot.
No, they want to see me doing bad, but I'm good.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? It's your boy Dave in the 702 coming straight out of Vegas. Post-Christmas. Shout out to everybody out there on YouTube Landia. Shout out to my co-host, Philly Irish Drew Evo from the city of brotherly love. Que pasa? I'm off my game a little bit. The intro's different, huh? I like this shirt, man. By the way, again, happy Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. My family just left town. So today we're going to try to catch up and do two things at once. We're going to try to do a recap of the Usyk Fury number 2 rematch. We'll see how Drew had it. I'll let you know my thoughts on how I had it as well. We'll go over some of those fights on that. The year in boxing is pretty much done, Drew. And of course, week 17 in the NFL is well underway. They had 2 games yesterday, 2 of them on Netflix. Netflix. Did you watch any of those Netflix games? Or you said you had a parlay. You had both of them, huh?
No, I had a basketball parlay, but I did watch them, and I don't know. It was like, I think Houston's slipping. Like, without the weapons and everything, the offensive line ain't really helping much either.
Yeah, I hear you, man. CJ Stroud, you know, there's been a lot of comparisons this week as the 49ers have to make a big decision next year and how much they're going to be willing to pay our quarterback. A lot of comparisons have been made to CJ Stroud. And I actually had some really cool graphics, but I didn't prepare. We're just kind of whipping the show together. Big shout out to Wiley Coyote, says happy holidays. Fonzie619 says hello, everybody who was waking up at 10 a.m. to watch the Chargers win. That's right. This week, the schedule for football is all weird. There's a game going on right now, Seattle Seahawks. I don't think they're going to take the NFC West, Drew, even though they've got an easy win right here coming up potentially against the Bears, although the game is close. The battle for the NFC West looks like it's going to be the Rams to take that one. And, of course, there's games all of Saturday. It's football Saturday and Sunday. We got 12 games to talk about, and I just wanted to get a quick recap on Usyk Fury number 2, Drew. 8-4. Even the AI judge had it 8-4. But I don't know if I'm losing my mojo. I had it on paper 6-6 after 12 rounds. And I'll tell you why, Drew. I'm looking at the CompuBox, okay? And I was really, really questioning myself when I scored these first 3 rounds as toss-ups. And you could see how close they were and why it was so difficult. And let's take a look at these. I got to make this a little bit bigger here. Round 1, I gave to Tyson Fury on my card. All right. I also gave him round number 3, even though he lost that one on CompuBox by 1 punch. Round 2, I did give to Usyk. Now, of those first 2-3 rounds, that's why I had it a draw. But those 2 rounds, Drew, 1 being tied, 6 punches apiece, and number 3 just being 1 round apart, I just like the way Fury looked in those rounds, man. I thought he was jabbing and moving quite well and just doing some sweet science, just boxing Usyk, looking better at it. And because of that, I had it a draw. But I'm serious. Those 2 rounds were so fucking close, excuse my language, that if I gave them to Usyk, well, I come up with 8-4, just like the rest of you guys. Let me know In the chat, those I see Wally Coyote. I'm sure Fonzie, of course. I know you saw this matchup. Everybody's like, it was clear cut. It's clear cut. All the pundits said it was 8-4. Drew, you told me the same thing. You had it 8-4. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had it 8-4.
I have to say, you gotta admit though, Tyson Fury did look a lot better in the second fight.
Yeah, he did. But here's the thing: if we're gonna look at it and how I analyzed this fight, because I watched it a couple of times to see if I get a score change, and I didn't. I just kept getting 8-4. Usyk. I don't think that Fury would have won the fight. Is winning the fight anyway. I think the best result would have been a draw. But let's look at it like this. It's an athletic, Usyk has a big athletic advantage against Fury. Let's put it that's one thing. Another thing that happened was if anybody was keeping an eye on the footwork and everything, Usyk use Fury's own foot against him. Every time Fury would try to go in and throw a punch and move forward with the front foot try to be on the front foot, Usyk would be able to have an angle open to get inside and get some shots in. Even if it's a body shot, he's landing his scoring. So he uses front foot against him. 2, every time he would go, Fury, and throw a hook or something or a straight, Usyk was able to go above his shoulder and land that right hook, and then go back to an attack. And the messed up thing about it is every time Usyk would get inside, instead of Fury doing something, all you do is clinch. And that opens up, and Usyk can just push with his shoulder and get some body shots in. That's scoring opportunities right there for Usyk that he took advantage of. So, if we seen what's going on during this fight, Usyk used a lot of Fury's movement against him as the fight progressed. Yeah, Fury was able to get shots in and everything. Fury's able to get his, but the thing that he failed to do, he didn't double, he didn't triple the jab, the follow up with a hook. That was one of the things that he's known for doing. Follow up with a double jab, go and then fouls and goes with the hook on it. He couldn't do that because by the time he had that double jab in, Usyk will all be on the move going for a counter shot. Usyk beat him to the punch most of the fight. And the footwork just showed who was the superior fighter when it came to footwork and everything. It was Usyk.
Yeah, I'll admit, Drew, this was not a very exciting fight. It wasn't very tense. It was more of a clinic of two guys really trying to box each other away. Total punches here, 179 punches landed for Usyk versus Fury, 144. In some of the rounds, only like round 1, six punches landed apiece. In the final 12th round, we had 20 for Usyk versus Fury, 16. Not a very exciting fight for a rematch, but nonetheless, Usyk comes away still retaining 3 of the titles. Daniel Dubois, who just picked up that vacant title that was IBF, made him mandated Usyk to drop it. And Dubois, who Usyk is already knocked out, jumps into the ring. So now we got to beg the question, what does Usyk do in 2025? He's 38 years old. So is Terrence Bud Crawford, incidentally. It does not seem likely that Usyk is going to retire next year. So you have to wonder, will Dubois and Usyk get back in the ring together in 2025 for Undisputed? Now, I was just reading that the management for Usyk feels very strongly that they would like to see Usyk become Undisputed for a 3rd time. Another big question to ask Drew Evo is, and ask the chat, is Usyk the greatest heavyweight of our generation, of this century? Where does he rank? I mean, people get very upset when you start saying Usyk is a generational great. He is undisputed. Undisputed in 2 weight classes in the 4-belt era, Ain't nobody
here's the
done that.
thing.
So how
Here's
is he
the
not
thing.
great?
He's one of the greatest fighters of this generation, period. Like, I look at it like this. How can you go to be the one that goes to undisputed 2 weight classes? Your resume is possibly the best in boxing. You've beaten 2 of the best heavyweights twice each in your era. Like, I look at it like this. Usyk, to me right now, like, I'm sorry, Usyk's an all-time great at this point. He's an all-time great. He's the greatest cruiserweight of all time. And he may as well be one of the greatest heavyweights of all time now, because he beat 2 of the best fighters in his generation
Twice.
each. And tell you the truth, he beat one of them with ease. The other one, it became later on that he became superior than the other one. So now he's fighting someone he knocked out again for an IBF title next time. Or he's going to fight Joseph Parker.
I personally like both of them. And Dubois made a very strong case for being one of the fighters of the year. But I think at this point, it's absolutely, I haven't made my choice, but it's going to be between Usyk and Naoya anyway. Most likely, I'm going to tip the nod to Usyk. But I don't mind seeing that rematch at all, man. Dubois having a fantastic year in the sport of boxing and also has that 4th title. And we'll see if Usyk is really up to it. Will they make that fight very soon? I'm hearing rumblings about that they want to match him up against Ngannou, the UFC fighter. And I mean, Usyk's a trooper. He's like, whatever, man. Whoever you want to pay me to fight in Saudi Arabia. Fonzie brings up a great comment. He says Usyk fought like the boxers from the 20s and 30s. Using soft punches to move Fury's punches, hands out the way to run on the inside and give him a good punch. And D-Style Boxing says Fury can never, ever beat Usyk. Bad style for him, always will be. And Fury hasn't taken care of himself. He did come in, 281 pounds, almost a career heavy, but, I mean, he didn't seem to use that weight, right?
If we look at it, the one that got hurt a couple of times in this fight was Fury. Usyk was never hurt in this fight. Usyk nailed some sharp punches that kind of hurt Fury and made him back out. Made him retreat a little bit. Made him try to reset. But that's why I think, that's one of the reasons why I think if you scored this fight, you got to score for Usyk. More effective punching, ring generalship. Like, I don't know what Frank Warren would say. Oh, I had him winning 3 rounds more. No, you didn't. The best case scenario, this fight's a draw.
Yeah, it was a razor close. But here it is. That if you, just like the AI model was judging the fight, you go round by round, and you don't go by the totality of the fight or your feeling of the overall sense of the fight. You go round by round, Drew. And like I said earlier, I did score it on my first watch a draw, but that's because I had 2 of these rounds being swing rounds. And looking at the CompuBox and then watching those rounds over on highlights, it's very clear that you could make the call for Usyk on those 2 rounds, giving him the 8-4 edge. So a very close fight, but tip my hat off, and I think Fury did too as well. So speaking of hype jobs, Drew, Fonzie says Andrew Ruiz was a hype job just because one good match he had. Moses Itama, the 19-year-old heavyweight, knocks out a guy. He knocks out the Australian heavyweight Dempsey McKeon, who's 22-1 in one round. In one round. He's kind of soft. He's about 6'3". He reminds me, well, he's obviously nowhere near as heavy set as Andy Ruiz. But I'm already wondering, they're talking about this kid being one of the youngest heavyweight champions of this current generation, potentially being the next youngest heavyweight champion. What about Richard Torres from California? What about Top Rank's Richard Torres?
No,
Both of these guys have similar fights. Richard Torres is the silver medalist. And if you look at the heavyweight division, you look at guys like Andy Ruiz, who did become a heavyweight champ. And a lot of people still saying maybe Richard Torres should have moved down a cruiserweight. It's about the same size as Moses Itama. Are these two on a collision course?
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Moses is going to KO Richard Torres in 1 round. I'm sorry. Richard Torres is not a heavyweight. I'm sorry. He's in the wrong division campaigning. He should be campaigning at cruiserweight. He's too small for heavyweight. He's too inexperienced for heavyweight. Because the way that he fights, he's getting KO'd. He fights Moses like that, he's getting KO'd in 1 round. He'll be KO'd inside a minute. Because Richard Torres, the way that he fights, and I said this to you, Dave, a couple of times. When he steps up in competition, he's going to get knocked out. He's going to get knocked out inside 5 rounds. Against Moses, he's going to get knocked out inside a minute.
Wow, that's a bold claim. Shout out to Paul M. joining us. We're going to get to our football picks. We're just wrapping up what happened this weekend between Usyk and Fury #2 Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia. Fonzie619 says, Richard Nacho Libre Torres is a fun to watch, and I like the guy, but he's never going to be great. I, for one, think, hey, the sooner you find out where Richard Torres is on an international level, again, Moses Itama is no Olympian. He didn't win any medal. Richard Torres is the medalist. Sooner you find out what Richard Torres is really made of on an international level, the better. Because you already got an idea of what happened to Jared Anderson in 2024. When you put him up against somebody on an international level, he collapsed at Riyadh season in Los Angeles. He looked like the hype job. Like, of all people, it was Jared Anderson that looked like the hype job this year. All right, one more fight I want to get to. Sergei Bohek had a last-minute replacement, a true contender at 154, a guy that had an amazing year at 154, could have even possibly in March, if he had been the last-minute replacement, could have possibly have been a world champ today, Drew. He gets a last-minute replacement with the UK fighter, what's his name? Let me look at it. Ishmael Davis. Drops him in the second, Ishmael Davis, and Ishmael Davis does not get up off the stool in the 6th round. His corner waves it off. A pretty good showing. Again for Bohacek. Again, this guy, Ishmael Davis, was probably ill-prepared with just weeks' notice, Drew. What did you think of Sergei Bohacek's, performance on Saturday?
It was what you expected him to do against someone that stepped in. Like, he was expected to stop him. And he did. So, he did what he was expected to do. So, it was a stay busy fight for him.
Yeah.
Like, what can I say?
Well, you guys, if you guys are following the sport, Israel Madrimov, who will be fighting Virgil Ortiz early spring, was the original fighter. And to be honest, Madrimov must have got a better offer, and the Saudis must have said, "Listen, we're gonna find a replacement for Sergei Bohacek. You just chill and get ready for this Virgil Ortiz fight." And another solid performance by Sergei Bohacek, who I think in 2025 is going to get a title opportunity and potentially do very well. And I won't be surprised if he snatches one of those 4 titles next year. So, are you guys ready to move into some football? Thursday night football. Seattle Seahawks are 6-3. If you like the Shoe Shine content, guys, we will be back on Monday with the best of 2024. I'm excited to do that this Monday night. The 49ers, my team, is playing on Monday Night Football. They'll most likely get embarrassed by the Detroit Lions.
Just like Joe's girlfriend when she tried asking me if I wanted a date, and it turns out I told her I want to fuck with a 10-foot pole. Right, Joe, in chat?
If he keeps at it, I'll just block him. By the way, if you guys are interested,
say something to him.
I'm drinking old-fashioned whiskey right here. This shit is delicious, guys. Don't worry. I'm not going to drink too much today. Seattle Seahawks. By the way, Drew, I think you might want to be rooting for the 49ers because obviously there's some first seed implications on Monday night.
We gotta say something, man. There's 102 people watching right now, and there's only 26 likes.
Let's get those likes up, guys. By the way, if you like what we're doing, we do a lot of content here. We do football talk and boxing talk on Mondays and Thursday nights, as well as I'm a Vegas local. And if you like Vegas content, I got some great videos on there. By the way, that new video I did is a career high for our channel, 320 likes for a small channel like us, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Let's get into some football talk. Seattle Seahawks, NFC West, they're underway right now. They can't score a freaking touchdown. 6-3. versus the Bears right now. That is the final score. Is that it? Is that what I'm seeing here on my little Amazon?
Wow.
I think the game just wrapped up. Again, I'm kind of blind. I'm watching my little Amazon Echo. But let's get into the game Saturday. Tons of action starting this Saturday. Let's start with the Los Angeles Chargers versus the New England Patriots at 10 in the freaking morning, Drew. LA Chargers are a 4-point favorite against the New England Patriots. How are you feeling about this one?
The Chargers, man. I look at it, man, and there's like games they should have won, and they wind up just. But I can't see them losing to the Patriots. You know, like they got a great record against losing bad teams, but against winning teams, they just suck against them. But I'm picking the Chargers. I'm picking the Chargers to cover the spread.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to cover this spread. It's only 4 points. New England Patriots sitting at 3-12. There's, I think, 3 teams right now, including the Las Vegas Raiders, that are 3-12. With the Chargers look like they're going to be 9-6. Let's quickly look at the rankings for the AFC. Saturday morning action. Chargers. Is Fonzie still up here? Yeah, Fonzie's up in here. He asked who's waking up. I'll be up. I'll be up watching that game, man. Chargers 9-6. Oh, man. Against the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs are undefeated. Yeah, just got 1 loss. By the way, we didn't do the power rankings. For what they're worth, Drew, power rankings this week. That's not them for this week. Let me know if you agree with this, Drew. Chiefs at number 1, Lions number 2, Bills at number 3, and the Vikings 4, with your Eagles at number 5. And that is the rankings according to Bleacher Report. And ESPN has got it different. ESPN has got your Eagles a bit higher. How are you feeling about those rankings?
I think the Eagles are still higher because here's the thing. Jalen Hurts didn't play almost the whole game. C.J. Gardner-Johnson got ejected. The calls were hardball. The referees were hardball in that game. Like, too many bad calls, too many no calls in that game. And including the last play of the game, where the guy off the left tackle blatantly false started in front of the ref, and they did not call that at all, which would have killed the clock, and the Eagles would have won. And they blitzed the running quarterback too much. So other than that, no, the Eagles are still the number 2 team in the league. Look how they're still the best team in the NFC.
Okay. Yeah, Eagles are number 3 on the power rankings list, according to ESPN. Shout out to Little Penny. I ain't seen Little Penny in a minute. He says the 49ers should extend the contract for Purdy. How much? How much are we talking about per year?
It'll be a mistake. Here's the thing. It's a mistake if you extend him. I'm going to tell you why. Your window was his rookie contract. Now, you got to pay him. Your Super Bowl window's closed. And, like, I'm sorry, I don't like, you got to pay him $58 million. That's annually. I don't think he's worth that money.
Drew, they got to make room for the offensive line and the defensive line because those two are in shambles this year. I already hear that they're thinking about drafting in the first round a running back. Isaac Orendo is on the injury list. He was our running back choice in the last draft, and he is a fantastic athlete. Y'all need to chill. We don't need another running back. We just need these running backs to get healthy. That being said, Little Penny, anybody who's a Niner fan, let me know what you think the salary should be appropriate for the contract extension for Purdy. Drew, as I said, the Eagles are number 3 in the power rankings, according to ESPN. What are your top 5 off the top of your head?
I'm gonna go Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, or Bills, Lions, and
Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings.
So I got it. Chiefs number 1, Detroit Lions number 2. Then I got the Eagles at 3, and I got the Vikings ahead of the Buffalo Bills. But I do have the exact same 5 teams in the power rankings. That's all right. So we've done with the power rankings. Let's get back to picking some games. Saturday morning, both of us agree that the Chargers are going to cover the spread. Let's move on to this next game. Denver Broncos versus Cincinnati Bengals. I really like this guy. Bo Nix, my pick for rookie quarterback of the year, Drew. They are not favored. Joe Burrows is favored by 3.5 points to lead the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are getting red hot at the right time. 9-6 Broncos, 7-8 Bengals. The Bengals are still in the playoff hunt. Joe Burrow is playing fantastic as a quarterback. Let me give you the stats. 7 games straight with 250 pass yards and 3 passing touchdowns. 7 games in a row. Joe Burrow is having a fantastic end of the year stretch. I think they come ahead. I think they cover the spread. I think the Bengals are going to surprise the Denver Broncos this Saturday. What do you guys say? Paul Lem, the Upset King, says Bengals. Paul gets it pretty right.
I will go with the Bengals on this. I really think that the Bengals may wind up sneaking in, but they need too much to happen for them to sneak in. So I'm picking the Bengals, but I think they'll just be available. I think they'd be good for one more week.
All right, we both picked the Bengals. Little Penny says Purdy should seek a 5-year extension worth $75 million with $25 million guaranteed. Okay, I'm okay with the $25 million guaranteed, but $75 million, that's a lot of scratch. Yikes!
The problem, here's the issue. The only way I see this going on, they're probably going to franchise Brock Purdy. Put the tag on him. Now, if he holds out, then you just say, hey, you want to hold out and anything? We'll trade you to a team. Probably not going to resign. They're probably not going to resign you, but, it is what it is, man. So, I look at it like this. If you're not in the position of bargaining, because when that shit happened, you were not a difference maker. When you were losing your weapons, you were not able to keep them up and win games for them and keep them in the playoff run. You lost games, you made mistakes. Tell you the truth, you're not a superstar quarterback. You're more of a game manager. So let's look at it like this right now. Brock Purdy the Niners had a Super Bowl window because they had a quarterback that was in a rookie contract. Now that he is out of a rookie contract next year, and the way that your season went, because this was the season where you should have to win it all, you did it, and your window's closed. So what do? Do you franchise him? Do you let him go entertain offers? But now you're at a point that I have to get rid of. I have trade assets that I have to get rid of. And I had to cut salary somewhere. So what salary would that be? I have to trade Deebo Samuel. You know why? Because I just signed Brandon Ayuk to an extension. And Deebo hasn't been playing well. All he's been coming as a distraction. So you trade Deebo Samuel. Now, your defense, you restructured Harvey's contract, but I think it may be time that you might have to trade Javon Hargrave. Get out of that contract. And now you got to look at it like this. Your pieces are Gerber, Nick Bosa, and now you got George Kittle. You're going to have to figure out, what am I drafting? Am I working on the defensive line first? Or am I working on the offensive line? You got to start inside the trenches.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
When it comes to drafting, you start inside the trenches because the offensive line is the line that protects your quarterback. The defensive line is the first line of defense to try to get you stops and everything.
Drew, I don't know if you saw this week, but for Christmas, And I made a joke with Little Penny. Shout out to Little Penny all the way from New Zealand, right? Big 49er fan. He says $75 million is the going rate for a quarterback that's been to the Super Bowl. He also made a good observation that I was comparing C.J. Stroud earlier. C.J. Stroud's numbers and Purdy's are virtually the same, but Purdy edges him out, and C.J. Stroud is likely to get an equal or similar contract. And that's a pretty good observation. Paul M says, Shoeshine, that's a great idea. Now, I told them, can we pay him in Tundras, Drew? Because Brock Purdy gifted his offensive linemen top-of-the-line Toyota Tundras. All of them. We're talking like $75,000, $80,000 trucks. Now, I heard that Toyota sponsors that Purdy, so maybe he didn't give them. But nonetheless, he gave his entire offensive line, who has not been doing a good job, gave them all a pretty damn nice Christmas gift, right? Fonzie619 says, the Raiders beat the Jags, but they lost because now they get no first-round draft pick, and Sanders, Deion Sanders' kid, might get picked up by the Giants, Drew. There's quite a few teams that are 3-12, but yeah. Carlos M says, I'm good, man. I've just been preparing for the end times. That's right, man. Any day now. Alien invasion, right? Any day is massive alien invasion in World War III, and might as well just drink until then. I'm just kidding. All right, man. It's just a good. Oh, shout out to Sindarov. Sherzabecki's been putting in some great comments here. Israel Madrimov is 100% ready for the fight, bro. He is the clear favorite. Very interesting. Now, I saw Virgil Ortiz, Drew. We saw him. Fonzie and I, we were there for that Virgil Ortiz fight against Sergei Bohek, and it was my favorite fight of all of 2024, and I got to witness that in person. Madrimov is a completely different fighter. He's got a really high IQ. I think styles make great fights. This is going to end up being an equally great fight, but different stylistically. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to that fight. Paul M says, hopefully those Tundras won't have the turbo issues. That's right. There's massive recalls on the Tundras. I remember those Tundras used to be good trucks, Drew. All right, Saturday. Moving on, Drew. NFC West. And I hope the 49ers listen to you, Drew, because, man, you made some great points. Somebody in that front office listened to Drew. Arizona Cardinals, neck and neck with the 49ers. We're at the bottom of the pack now. Kyler Murray is falling apart, and the LA Rams, they're doing fantastic, man. They got hot at the right moment. Most of their key offensive players are back. They're playing good defense. They kind of been struggling offensively, but still they find themselves in the first place in the NFC West, Drew. They are the favorite this Saturday by 6.5 points. They beat the Cardinals and Kyler Murray by 7 points.
I look at it, and the Rams. I think the Rams are going to wind up winning the NFC West. I think the Rams are the best team right now in the West. And it doesn't have to take much to be the best team in the West.
Oh, God.
So let's just look at it like that. But the Rams can clearly get into a shootout with you any day of the week.
You know, it's interesting. Seahawks picked up the win just now. Should the Rams lose, they both find themselves to be 9-7. Now, that's a massive upset. Does anybody in this chat think that Kyler Murray can pull off a good comeback? He's not been playing so great in the past few games. Can the Cardinals kind of throw a wrench in the first place? And I think the Rams would still be in first place, but yeah. Anybody else here think the Cardinals can upset the Rams this Saturday morning? Rams would improve to 10-6. Should they lose, though, things might get pretty interesting. Fonzie says, no, I think the Cardinals are out. No playoffs for them.
Yeah, Cardinals are out. They're out already.
Am I not looking at the right win column record here? So I got 9-6. Yeah, is this week here? Let's take a look.
Well, you got to realize they got 8 losses. Anybody that has 8 losses already is out. So the Cowboys are out. The Cardinals are out. The Niners have 9. They're out. Sorry, Dave. But I look at it. This is a 2-team race now between the Seahawks and the Rams. And the Rams will be in position next week, if they win this week, for next week to clinch the NFC West. We're going to win against Seattle. The next week's game will be for the division. Next week's game is for the division. So
Man, speaking of the NFC West, well, I'll get to that 49ers game. That's going to be Monday when we typically do the Shoe Shine at 7:30. We'll be watching the fourth quarter live here on Monday night with the Shoe Shine. We'll do our best of boxing recap. Yeah, Drew, the NFC West is kind of a soft division. So let's move on to that concludes all of Saturday's games, guys. And you can follow along at DraftKings.com. Sunday morning, 10 a.m., Buffalo Bills favored by 9.5 points against the New York Jets. Could this be the last season for Aaron Rodgers? He was pulled off the field, came back into the game, and it's important to note that the Buffalo Bills did not cover that spread last week. It was a very big spread. They did not cover the spread. 9.5 points against a pretty bad team in the Jets, but they struggled. The Bills struggled last week. They won the game, but not by much. 9.5 points. They've got to lay 10 points. Are you guys picking the Bills to step all over the New York Jets?
They're going to win it. I think that if you look at it like this, the Jets, they just aren't that good. And like that Jets team is heading towards another rebuild, unfortunately. And let's look at it like this. Let's look at it.
We got Chief in here. He said, thanks for the rings. Yeah, 2 of them, right? Exactly. That's a good one.
Those refs.
He's saying the Niners, thanks for the rigs for 2 of them. Exactly.
But I always said that the Bills' Achilles heel is their defense. Their defense can't even stop a cold. And you think of how all these teams. But like I just look at it, man. This is probably the end of Aaron Rodgers as we see it.
And it'll be interesting if Devontae Adams seeks another trade next year. We'll see how that all pans out. I do not have a good feeling that they covered the spread, man. I think they win this game out. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to go with the money line for Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'll probably take the money line too. Like, I don't think I worry about trying to ask for a trade. I think they might just let him release his ass.
So Little Penny brings up an interesting point because the 49ers already have had the Super Bowl. I was still living in Santa Clara, and my neighbor was part of the construction team that built that stadium in Santa Clara. He was a surveyor for the site. 2 people died building that god-awful stadium, Little Penny. 2 guys on that construction team passed away building the Niners stadium. It's not a very nice stadium, and it was a step up from Candlestick Park, but I have to agree with you, man. It's one of the worst stadiums in recent memory built. And if you look at the Raiders stadium, God, it's complete opposite. It's one of the nicest stadiums, I think, in the entire NFL league. All right, Fonzie619 says to remind everybody, hit that thumbs up, man. I appreciate that. And if you like this content, consider subscribing. It's completely free. Let's move on, Drew. Indianapolis Colts against the New York Giants. It looks like the New York Giants might get the first-round draft pick. They're in the lead to be the worst team in the NFL. Indianapolis Colts, really not that bad, man. How do you feel about this? The Colts are favored by 7.5 points.
The Colts are going to win the AFC South.
Really?
I think they're going to take the division.
Let's look at that.
I think they're going to take the division.
You said the Colts? Because the Colts are AFC, right?
The Colts are going to win the AFC South.
7-8, man. You think C.J. Stroud falls apart at the end of the last 2 games?
Oh, they're too injured. They're falling apart.
They're falling apart. All right, man. Yeah. It'll be very interesting. All right, let's look at the odds for Colts versus the Giants. 7.5. Indianapolis Colts win this game easily. They cover the spread. I'm going with the Colts covering the spread. That moves us along to Sunday, Drew. You've already destroyed this team. Dallas Cowboys coming off a win, but they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. You guys are favored by 7 points. Now, I got to ask you, let's talk about Jalen Hurts' concussion protocol.
He's not playing.
Who's going to be in the quarterback position this?
Kenny fucking Pickett.
All right. How do you feel with your backup, man? Your team is solid all across the board, offensive and defensively. Still favored.
You know what? I look at it like this. The play calling was not that good. Like, he can run, so why the fuck don't you call? Why don't you fucking call the same type of game plan that you would call with Jalen in the game for Kenny Pickett? And I think the defense ain't gonna have a letdown like that again. I think the Eagles win this. I think they're playing a pissed off Eagles team, and I think this Eagles team's gonna fucking beat the shit out of the Cowboys. You gotta look at it. CeeDee Lamb is out.
Interesting. Fonzie619 brings up a great question. Paul M says Cowboys extend their win streak. Drew. Fonzie619 says, my question is, if the Giants get Sanders, are they going to ruin Sanders' career?
Oh, he fucked.
Or will it be like Jaden Daniels? Could he turn the team around?
He's fucked.
Trevor Lawrence had a great rookie season, even though the team's kind of a disaster now with the Jaguars.
He's fucked.
Little Penny says, Cowboys are eating empty calories. Drew, you got your team winning this Sunday at 10 a.m.?
Yep.
Man, I think it's going to be close. I'm not sure if they cover the spread. It might be razor thin. I'm going to say that they win. I'm going to go with the money line on that. That moves us to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely still in the hunt. Carolina Panthers, Drew. Buccaneers favored by 8. Now, question, do the Buccaneers have a chance to win their division against the Falcons? They are both 8 and 7.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I think Tampa Bay could win out. But I think the way that it steps, I think Atlanta have a tiebreaker. I'm not sure. But I'll pick Tampa's going to win out. So I'm picking Tampa.
All right, Drew and I both agree. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Does anybody think elsewise? In the chat, let us know. Buccaneers, I got them favored to beat Carolina easily, but do they cover the spread 8 points? I think they win by 10. All right, you guys mentioned in the chat, Las Vegas Raiders pulled off a pretty decent win against another equally horrible team in the Jaguars. Did they F themselves, Drew, that Las Vegas Raiders desperately need a franchise quarterback? Las Vegas desperately needs a franchise quarterback. Ticket sales were so bad. Drew, the Raiders, going to a Raiders game was a luxury event. They've got some of the most expensive food in the nation as far as if you get a chance to go to Allegiant Stadium. But this past weekend at the Raiders game, there was a lot of seats going for as low as, somebody told me, as low as $15 on the resale market. Not a very good look for a very expensive stadium. For a team where obviously they don't have a home base here in Las Vegas. They don't have a fan base here, local fan base to support that massive stadium. They're actually relying on a lot of people coming in from out of town to watch the opposing team. So did the Raiders fuck themselves by winning this past weekend?
Kind of.
Now, this is crazy. I think this is crazy. Raiders are favored by 1 point against the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Saints are 5 and 10. Do they win 2 games in a row, guys? And if they win a second game in a row, they win the last 2 games, they really set themselves back from getting a good quarterback. It's not like there are a lot of quarterbacks this season to pick from.
Oh, man. It's just... The Raiders, man, I'm going to pick the Raiders.
All right. Well, shit, man. I'm kind of rooting for the Raiders to lose and see if they can pick up somebody, maybe trade up to get that number 1 quarterback. It would be nice to see Sanders here in Las Vegas. That I wouldn't mind seeing that. That brings us to the next game at 10 a.m. Sunday. Tennessee Titans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars favored by just 1 point, Drew. 1 point. 3-12 versus 3-12. 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. This is a pick'ems game. I got to ask the chat, who do we go with on this one? 2 teams, 3-12, Jaguars or the Tennessee Titans?
3-12. God damn, they both suck.
Both at the bottom of the pack for the AFC South, Drew. And you were just saying, Colts, you think the Colts are going to pull ahead of the Texans in the battle of the AFC South? Jaguars and Titans both tied. Paul M says Titans.
Yeah, go ahead. The Titans, they both suck.
I'm gonna go with the Titans. Sindarov, I appreciate you hanging out for the football talk. Sindarov has a great question. We do cover the sport of boxing here. What do you think about the fight between Akhmadaliev, he goes by MJ, and Naoya Inoue? Who is stronger? Well, I'm going to give you my answer. I think it's the best fight that Naoya Inoue can make. I'm disappointed that he's taking on Sam Goodman, the Australian fighter. Disappointed by that. That fight was set back to January, and it looks like this great Mexican upcoming fighter that I'm following, Picasso, will be getting the fight against Naoya Inoue in Las Vegas. He's coming to Las Vegas. Naoya Inoue returns this spring to Las Vegas, and I'm deeply disappointed. I think that MJ absolutely deserves a title opportunity to champ, and I think that after that loss, that sole loss he's got, he's the best looking fighter at 122. I think it's the best fight to make for Naoya Inoue at 122, a fight of real skill. I give him a good chance of putting on a good performance, but I still favor Naoya Inoue. But man, that is the best fight to make at 122. Aside from what Nakatani moving up, Nakatani today indicated in an interview he's not ready to move up and that fight is on his radar, but he's not rushing it. So again, I think, hey, MJ is a great fight and it needs to be made in 2025. Little Penny says, hey, Inoue versus Junto is a better fight. Again, Little Penny, I just reading Nakatani's not in a rush to make that fight. It is a fantastic fight, but Nakatani's not even, he hasn't introduced himself to the bantamweight division. A great fight to be made. Let's see. Fonzie says, in regards to that, he says, rumors have it that the Monster's going to box in Vegas. I'll be there when it happens. Fonzie will be both there. Yeah, it's supposed to be happening potentially this spring. He's going to need at least 3 or 4 months after the Sam Goodman fight in January. All right, we're almost wrapped up with our football talk. It's been a great show, guys. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, guys. We would really appreciate. We do boxing on Mondays, sometimes twice a week, and we do football on Thursdays, as well as we do a lot of Vegas content right on this channel. If you love coming to Las Vegas, check out the videos, check out the vlogs on this channel. Drew, Miami Dolphins versus the Cleveland Browns Sunday at 1:05 p.m. The Dolphins favored by 6.5 points. Cleveland Browns, they got some problems, the Cleveland Browns, but they're a scrappy team. As bad as the record is for the Cleveland Browns, who's winning this game?
I'm going with the Dolphins. I think there's going to be a lot of changes going on with both teams at the end of the year. So I think the Dolphins right now are just better.
We got Paul M with the Browns. He's usually right with these tough ones. Miami for Little Penny. I got the Dolphins too, Drew. Let's quickly look at the rankings for the AFC, where the Dolphins stand. Do they still have a chance? I forget. Yeah, they're not in the hunt for their AFC East, but 8-8. If they could finish the season off at 9-8, they're still in the playoff hunt, right, for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
They need to win this game. Must-win game for Miami. I think earlier in the chat, I saw the game they were most interested in seeing is this Sunday's game between the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. Shout out to Sam Darnold. Shout out to my good friend Speech. Big Minnesota Vikings fan. By the way, I got a video on a Minnesota Vikings restaurant right here in Las Vegas. It is my favorite sports bar in Las Vegas because the food is hands down, the best sports bar food in Las Vegas is at a Minnesota Vikings bar. There's a video right on my page. Drew, this is going to be a close game. DraftKings has Green Bay Packers favored by 1 point, but Minnesota Vikings 13-2. Do they lose to Jordan Love this weekend?
Yeah.
They do.
I think they lose to the Packers.
Damn. Shout out to my boy Joy Sports Channel, Joe Sports Channel right here on YouTube. He's a big Packers fan. Would love to have him back on for playoff season because obviously I think the Packers and the Vikings are going to find themselves in the playoffs. 13-2 Vikings against the Green Bay. Who's got it, guys? Who's got Vikings? We got Paul M with the Vikings. Let me just quickly look at here. Obviously, the Vikings in my top 5 power rankings should be in everybody. Sam Darnold, the former backup quarterback for the 49ers, doing much better than Purdy this year, having the season of his life over there with the Vikings. 13-2, tied with the Lions at 13-2. Can the 49ers do the unthinkable? The 49ers had an incredible playoff game against the Detroit Lions. It was featured in the Netflix Receivers documentary. Great work from Netflix putting that Receivers documentary last year. If you didn't catch it, it is available. And they chronicled the 49ers versus the Lions, Drew. If the Vikings lose, like you say, and the Lions win, they're already in first place. But there's a lot at risk here, man. Anybody else think the Vikings win and the Lions lose to the god-awful 49ers 2024 team? Shit. That could be shaking things up. Little Penny says the Lions will lead up the Niners this time around. Oh, man. All right, Drew. Who do you got? You said the Vikings are losing this weekend?
Yeah.
Man, that's close. 1 point. I'm going with the Vikings for the upset on that. Let me just quickly see what the money line. I got faith in the Vikings pulling this off. The Vikings are a negative 108 money line. All right, a very close game. Very close game. Yeah, I got the Vikings. So we're split on that one. All right, guys. Shout out to Jimenez. Appreciate you coming into the chat, homie. We're down to the last couple games. Obviously, Atlanta Falcons versus the Washington Commanders. Drew, you guys split them, right? One apiece this year. Washington Commanders favored by 4 points against the Falcons. Jaden Daniels trying to make the case he's the best rookie quarterback this year in the NFL. What does the chat think? Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels wins this game. I think he wins. I think he covers the spread, 4 points.
I'm picking Atlanta.
You're picking Atlanta. That's
I'm
a nice little upset. Let me just see here. Atlanta Falcons and the Buccaneers both win. We got a problem in the NFC South because both the Buccaneers and Atlanta wins, Drew. They both are still exactly 9-7, and the NFC South is up for grabs, man. It comes down to the very last game. It definitely comes down. Little Penny says, Paul M. Jimmy is dependable in the playoffs. Which Jimmy? Jimmy G?
Oh, my God.
All right, man. This has been a great show, guys. I appreciate everybody that's new, that's been watching us. We do football and boxing today because we did not do a Monday show because of the holiday. I had my folks in town. We try to do both really quickly. But Monday night, we do the regularly scheduled Shoe Shine episode at 7:30. And Monday night, man, the repeat of the playoff game of last year, Detroit Lions versus San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers rolled into Detroit and beat them. This time, this game happens in Santa Clara. A few NFL pundits think that the 49ers have too much pride to drop this game. But come on, let's be effing real. They have not played like they can beat any top caliber team. It started with the Vikings earlier in the season. Despite that, Detroit Lions favored by only 3.5 points. The over is 50. The under is 50. What is the money line on this, man? Anybody here think that my team, the 49ers, Paul, I think that's our team. Little Penny. Can the 49ers pull off an upset?
No.
Drew with the straight no. Do you need the 49ers to beat the Detroit Lions to move ahead for the Eagles? Is there no possible way? Today I was reading that the Eagles, is highly improbable you guys will be the first seed. Like, what do the teams need to get a draw? Both teams need to make a draw or some shit. It's highly improbable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad, man. Wouldn't be bad. That being said, if I was to bet, I'm going to say I don't see how they could finally do it. I mean, unless Detroit Lions don't start their first string players. I'm going with Detroit Lions if I had to lay money on it. Shout out to Paul M for being a true faithful. He says Niners for the upset. Niners for the upset. Lastly, Sindarov says, if Nyanyu Inoue is so afraid of MJ, why isn't he accepting the fight? He's the absolute champion, but he's running away. What do you think of this shameful champion? Well, I don't know what Nyanyu Inoue's deal is with not fighting MJ. Like I said, I think it's a fight that personally, I think that fight should be the one that happens this spring in Las Vegas, if you ask me. Instead of Picasso, this Mexican upcoming prospect / contender, I think that the real fight should be made this spring should be between Nyanyu Inoue and MJ. But it looks like we're not going to get that fight. Again, if I was the promoter and I was the matchmaker, that's the fight I want to see before he moves up to featherweight. Anyway, this has been a good show, man. I appreciate everybody new to the channel. All right, Drew, any final thoughts on the sport of boxing this week or the NFL? Do you have a pick?
Can't think of anything on the top of my head.
Man, you can't think of anything. Yeah, it looks like it's 10-something, Drew. Man, it's been a great show, guys. Again, I appreciate everybody that's been here. Don't forget to hit that like if you haven't on the way out. Drew and I will be back on Monday night and Thursday of next week for NFL Week 18. And we'll see if we got any special surprises for next week as it is the New Year's, man. Drew, I hope everybody had a happy holidays. We will see you next Monday right here on this channel. Until then, peace out, everybody. Peace.